in the view here, you see the Singer model 6212C, which I had recently purchased because it's a rotary and it's a free arm. Now, one of the other things I'm testing the machines for lately is how well they take any kind of thread. But for now, what I'm doing, this is a kind of a scrap piece of weaving, which is done with both acrylic and wool. And one of the problems I've had in the past is when I stitch the end of weaving, making sure that I catch all the warp threads. So, as I said, this is the 6212C, and on the rotary dial on the front, I have set the stitch length to 1, which is about as tight as you can get before going to like buttonhole or a 0. They have a 0 on here. Now, on a vintage machine, I would be using one that sets the stitch length to about 30 per inch. And I'm not sure if this is going to do that equivalent, but let's try it. Now, the issues you come up with any kind of weaving are getting it to move over the feed dogs, and as I said, making sure you catch every warp. Now, 1 is too tight. It's not going to even move. So let's go up to 2.5. Now let's just look at that. Oh, and that's like a 30. Now I don't know how much the stitch is actually being affected by the type of fabric this is. You know, sometimes a stitch can bunch up with certain fabrics, but what this is doing is catching every single warp thread. So at least now I know on the 6212C I can use a stitch length of 2.5. This is fisherman wool and this is Red Heart pink acrylic. I know I'll be able to catch those threads on that setting. Now the hinged foot helps to go over any kind of heavy anything, but also the reason this might be important for me is that one of the projects I was going to make is a woven bear, and I wanted to weave my own fabric to do that. And in the past, when I had made legs for a doll in weaving, when I went to stitch them together, I hadn't caught all the warp threads. So now I know that that problem won't happen again. And you know, this is a very nice electric machine. It's fairly basic with only like 4 or 5 extra stitches over and above straight and zigzag. So it's a good 1980s machine. And now I know I can use it for stitching any kind of weaving where I need to catch the warp threads.